Hi, this is Dr. Zorba, Pastor, with a rapid update. Are we headed for another pandemic? What about Ebola? And what about hantavirus? You've seen it in the headlines. Ebola outbreaks in parts of Africa. We don't have an immunization for that. We don't have a medical treatment for that. Hantavirus stories linked to a cruise ship, social media videos, ominous music, dramatic warnings, and all of a sudden, many people are feeling that knot in the stomach that we remember from COVID. And, I understand it. COVID has changed us. More than 1 million Americans died ultimately from COVID. Families were separated. You couldn't hug people when they were sick. You couldn't go to the funeral. We lost friends and relatives. We lost our sense of safety. We have an emotional scar from that. There's no doubt about it. When people hear the word outbreak and virus, global health, it hits you differently. And then, of course, there's the fact that we sort of had not just PTSD, but the fact that we really don't want to think about another infectious disease. So let me put this into context. First of all, what is the most contagious disease in the world ever at all? Putting smallpox off to the side, because that was actually the most infectious. And the answer is measles. Measles is the most infectious virus on earth that we know. There's something called contagiousness, and it's a basic reproduction number, the idea of how many people can you infect. And it turns out that if one person has measles, they can infect 12 to 18 people in a room or even after that person has left. Measles is number one. And as you know, because of all the rubbish that has come out of Washington, there are many people that are not getting immunized for measles, and they are wrong. Transmission from measles is through airborne droplets. They can linger in the room for up to 2 hours after someone has left. What's the deadliest? Tuberculosis. It's reclaimed its position as the leading infectious disease killer now that COVID has decreased because of immunization. It kills about 1 million people globally every year. It's a bacterial infection. It infects the lungs, spread through airborne droplets, and so on. And roughly at least 10 million people fall ill with TB every year. What's the most prevalent? Hepatitis B. It's the most common, one of the most common infectious disease conditions globally. An estimated 2 billion people have it, over 1/4 of the world's population. If you are immunized at birth, you will not get hepatitis B. And by the way, one of the complications of hepatitis B happens to be cancer of the liver. And right now, the rubbish in Washington is saying we really should not give children immunizations for hepatitis B, especially if the mother doesn't have it. Of course, we don't know if the mother has it because many people with hepatitis B don't even know they have it. And then, of course, there's influenza, which kills a whole bunch of people every year. And don't forget, of course, we have COVID. So what about Ebola? Ebola is different. Ebola usually spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids, blood, vomit, diarrhea, stool. If you're in Africa and you're in an area where there's Ebola, it's serious and it's deadly. But it's not contagious to us in the U.S. because it's not around right now. We have to worry more about COVID, influenza, measles, hepatitis B, the other things. What about hantavirus? Well, that's different. Most cases of hantavirus come from exposure to infected rodent droppings, rodent urine, rodent saliva, which usually happens in cabins and sheds and barns, poorly ventilated spaces where rodents have been present. Human-to-human contact really does not happen. So, what are we supposed to do? Well, there's something that a lot of psychologists call the dread factor. Oh my God, it can infect me. Certain diseases simply sound terrifying. Ebola kind of sounds terrifying. Influenza, I hear that all the time. Not quite as terrifying. How about hantavirus? Ooh, I find that kind of terrifying. In other words, part of it is the fear of the unknown. So here's my advice. Stay informed. That's really good. Do not marinate in panic, right? Listen to credible, reliable sources like me. Understand how diseases actually spread. Not every outbreak becomes a pandemic, and most of them do not. Fear is contagious. This is Dr. Zorba, Pastor. Stay well.